Okay, this is my first complete Osage bow that I shot and tillered. I used it as my hunting bow. It's called the Christmas bow. And now that I made a few bows and I have a little more confidence to play with a little more, I shortened the limb tips by about an inch or so to make a little stronger bow. And that'll allow me to even out the limbs a little better and get even a better tiller. And if I can maintain that 42 pounds, I'll be happy. So doing this is just trying to take out some of the imperfections from my inexperience. Now, when you draw a bow, it gets set. It crushes the fibers and it'll get a little set. So there was a little set, but what I wanted to do was, I think from recurving the tips, it made a little bit more set than it should have been. In other words, it's not so much the fibers crushed as the limbs, after steaming, positioned themselves that way. So I heat treated it. I got on a backset board. I do not want it's not going to be reflex. I'm just hoping to make it even as best I could, and hopefully it isn't so much that the fibers were crushed on the belly. Hopefully it was just had to be reset. So we'll see what happens. It could break. I got more wood coming on the way. I actually like that yew bow so much, I'm going to make a yew hunting bow. There's a yew stave coming on the way. And so I'm hoping to make this a little more streamlined, a little more aesthetically correct, and tiller it. So we'll see what happens. After putting on the backset jig and heat treating, believe it or not, it's much better. I don't know if it'll hold, but it's, like I said, you know, I'm pretty new to all of this, and it's like experimenting still. And like I said, this served me well. I hunted with it, and I want to see if I can make it a little more streamlined and better. I'm going to narrow the tip ends and run a line and see how it is. I got to retiller it to make sure it bends evenly at the new with shorter nocks position. And if it don't break, I think it's going to be a really awesome bow. Again, maybe better, more betterer, more gooder. All right, so we'll see what happens. Well, not perfect. The limbs are about the same thickness on each end now. One's not wider than the other. I have the limbs tapered the last 12 inches. It's nice and thin. Okay, the same thing over here on the bottom limb. The other thing I did was I put a radius shelf, a more radius shelf, in the riser handle, and it's kind of a crowned shelf, sight window. I have a 26-inch draw, and I have a 57-inch recurve, Osage recurve, that I reconditioned. It was my hunting bow. I called it the Christmas bow because it was made Christmas. But because of my inexperience, there was certain things I didn't like, and this could break. But because I'm tillering it, and usually it's double your draw length plus a few inches for the riser, so I'm cutting it close. So I'm going to flex it a little at a time and tiller it and get it even and see what kind of weight I come up with. So right now, that left limb is bending fine, and the right limb isn't bending. I have to take some material down in the middle. Okay. So let me take a little off and see if I can get it to bend. Okay, this tillering is a slow and important process, and every time I take material off, I make sure the edges are round, and you can see I started to get that limb to to flex a little bit more. And it's still got a little bit of a stiff spot, just a tiny little bit of a stiff spot. And a little to the left. I'm going to flex it a little bit to work it in. I'm going to do this about 30 times. I'm going to stop this because I'm going to work it a little bit. And then I'll go back and remove some more material. Okay, more tillering, more rounding of the edges. And you can see we got it flexing a lot more, right? You see it's starting to flex to right. And maybe a little on the outside there, a little bit more. Right? A little bit more on that outer edge there. I'm going to flex it a few more times. I'm going to stop you here. Take a little off and then we'll redo it. Okay, I tilled it and sanded the edges round. And I have a string on it with a small, like 5-inch brace height. And you can see that top limb still has to have some more removal. Hopefully it's level. Now what we're going to do is flex it and see what it looks like. Okay, now look, it's flexing much better. You see you have that one hump over there. There's really not much you could do with that. So we're going to work it in a few times. I think if there's much more I could do. That left limb is bending beautiful. And I really don't want to mess with that right limb too much more. I see at the recurve end maybe a little bit. Maybe a little at the recurve end's got to come off there. Okay. So let me polish a little bit off and see what happens. Took a little off the recurve end. Now keep in mind, the saying that we all heard when we started this is that the perfect bow is almost broken. And a longer bow with wider limbs is safer than a shorter bow with the little narrower limbs. But I did what I wanted to do with this. I wanted to make it a little more even, the limbs a little even, and what happens, happens. Here we go. Look at that, it's bending pretty good, right? Okay, we're at 27, 40 pounds. Okay, I got my 40-pound bow, and it's looking pretty good. So I think we're going to go in the back and shoot a little bit. Set a knock and shoot it. So I noticed that, you know, when I took it down from the tilt tree, that, you know, one limb's bending a little bit more than the other, had a little more weight than the other. The other thing I noticed is that this tip, the string is laying on the bottom. Okay, and I have to turn it to make the string a little more central. So I have some other staves coming, believe it or not. I really like making that U bow. I have a U stave coming, and I have 2 more Osage staves coming. So I hope that camera stand don't blow over. It's like a hurricane out here today. We made it. Okay, so I'm going to straighten this tip out a little bit, and then I'm going to recheck it on the tiller tree and see if I take some weight out, and I'll be okay with a shorter 3D bow. Even if it's a hair less than, you know, the 40, if it's like 37, I'll be okay with that. Because I'm trying to make it perfect, and I don't want to compromise. I don't want to say, okay, I got a 40 pound, it's better than it was. I want it good. So I'm going to heat it up, heat this up. I'm going to heat it up on the belly side here. And then once it torques down where the string will be level, I'll come back to you. Okay, I was getting a little fussy, and the limb on the top was twisted a little bit, just a little bit. The string wasn't perfectly aligned, and I heated it up and straightened it out. And believe it or not, as crazy as this sounds, doing that straightened out the tiller. You know, I mean, it wasn't that bad before the tiller, but I wanted to make it perfect, and it's actually pretty good now. So we're going to exercise it before I shoot it again, just to make sure. All right, here we go. Okay, we're golden. Okay, there was a real crazy limb twist that I took out. It's just about perfect. Here we go over here. This looks very good too. And if you check out the tiller, look how beautiful, right? Now, when I made this bow, I watched videos. I was new. This is my first real nice complete bow that I made. And when I made my jig for the recurve, somebody on YouTube said, oh, this is my 7.5-inch recurve jig. And I made these really big, ridiculous recurves, okay? Which I believe you don't need. Then I made a 5.5 jig, and then finally a 4.5-inch jig. And I think the 4.5-inch recurve jig is the way to go. So I cut at least 1.5 inches off of these tips and then lowered it. Let me see if I have one in my pocket. Do I have any in my pocket? Let me see. I actually do. So this is what I cut off. This is actually what I cut off. Okay? I made it shorter. Okay? From string groove to string groove, a couple of inches on each side. And that really made a difference. What an incredible difference. It pulls back a lot smoother too, and it strings up easier. So now we're going to go. I just want to show you, I have a pair of mallets that come in my yard every year, and they're not bothered by me shooting. They watch me shoot. They watched me shoot this bow today, and they're very comfortable and at home in the yard. They know it's a safe zone for them. Okay, so we're outside on this beautiful day. Besides taking some of the crazy recurve off and evening out the limbs so they're even top and bottom, what I did was I rounded the edges so my hand, when it goes around, it's nice and smooth. There's no sharp edges. So let's just see here. Okay, we got 40 pounds, okay, 40 pounds. So what I'm gonna do here is, we're at the 20-yard mark, and 20 yard is to the bag target and the deer. And that bear, well, that bear's a little, about 15 yards. So we're gap shooting. So what I'm gonna do is, I touch my anchor, top finger to the corner of my mouth, elbow all the way back. I try to be a shooting machine. I'm gonna put my point on the belly of that bear, right on the belly. And we're gonna see what happens. Okay, not bad. It went a little bit low, but it hit left to right really good. So what I'm gonna imagine on that bear is the lower third, or if we were 3D shooting, the bottom of the 10 ring. And I'm gonna take a shot at that bear, the bottom of the 10 ring, and see what happens. And it went right there. You see I raised it up a little bit. So now that deer, that's about 20 yards. Of course, I see I have to aim for the bottom of the 10 ring with a lower third of the animal at 15. At 20, I'm going to put that point on what would be the top of the 10 ring or below the back strap and see what happens. I'm going to try and be the shooting machine, keep my elbow back, my hand against my face. After I release, I'm going to keep my hand up. I'm going to try not to peek to watch the arrow. I'm going to trust the shot. Absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. I am in love with what I did. I can't believe how nice I corrected this recurve. It's like night and day. By reducing those tips, there's the crazy hand shock went away. You had crazy hand shock, it went away. It's smooth, it's accurate. Now, that deer back there on the right is 25 yards. And to be honest, when I hunt, I like to hunt 20 and under. But just for this, we're going to show you. I'm going to put the point of this 500 spine arrow. They don't make these anymore. This is a center shot 500 spine. I think it's 29 inches. I'm not sure. Regular insert, 100 grain tip. And I'm going to put this point on top of that buck. And where it goes, it goes. This is my last arrow. Just wanted to show you after all that work that we're shooting it. Hopefully it's somewhere near where it's supposed to be. Okay, went a little to the left. Let's go take a look and see how it is. Okay, here's the beer. The first one was low. And then this one here, I kind of put on the lower third of the animal, or what you would call the bottom of the 10 ring for 3D. Go over to the deer. Okay. I put this one right on top of the 10 ring or underneath the back strap and only went down a couple of inches. Beautiful shot. Now, here's the 25 yards that I put on top of the back and it went low. I mean, it's actually, the height is good. But why do arrows go to the left? Well, if you hyperextend your arm and you have recoil, which I didn't do, or sometimes if you pluck and came off your face, which I really didn't think I did, it would go to the left. The other reason why it might go to the left, if the arrow's a little stiff, the further you go back, it'll go to the right. So for the first day shooting it, I'm happy. Look at this bow. Look how nice the tiller is, right? I came a long way. I came a long way since I made this in December. Okay? And this is the end of May. Right? Look how beautiful. Right? I'm very happy. I got some more bows coming, more staves coming, and I really enjoy this. I enjoy this. It's nothing like making a bow out of a log and then shooting it. And now that I got some experience, I was actually able to go back and fine-tune it and make it even better. I was lucky, all right? And the key to whenever you make changes is slow tillering, exercise the limbs. Whatever you do when you're changing something, exercise the limbs, tiller it again, round the edges before you tiller it. You know, where you take off, once you take off material, sand and round the edges and then work it, okay? And work it a lot, all right? Work it 20, 30 times, make sure that they're flexing, and then, you know, only go down a couple inches at a time, and then look and say, okay, I'm almost at my draw length. What can I do to make it go more? What's not bending? You want everything to work even. So if the ends or the limbs, end of the limbs or the middle or whatever is not really bending the way it's supposed to, you fine tune it a little bit at a time, and that'll give you the extra flex to make you go. All right, Thanks for watching. Tomorrow I go for have my stitches removed from my orthoscopic surgery. I had tear in a meniscus. They said it was real bad. They said I might need a knee replacement in a couple of years, but I'm doing good. You saw me on the video I'm shooting the next day, right? You always push through everything, you know? Every morning you wake up is a good day. Enjoy it. Okay, watch my other videos on Barebo Joe. Thank you.